Hi everyone, welcome to the Game Off Podcast. I'm Andy Paulo, aka Solitalker, here with
Brent and Andy, aka Arcadia.
And today we've got some exciting news. EA's got some really great surprises that they are just dying to tell us about. And we're going to be talking about our matchup today, Supraland and Void Bastards. But before that, we've got our new segment that our producer Divya has ensured us we can get the rights to the song Knowing Me, Knowing You. So we're going to jump right into that.
All right, let's see what she's got for us. Again, these are questions we haven't seen prior to this moment in time in the year of our Lord 2019. Whatever today's date is, I'm not gonna pretend I know. All right, episode 7, Avatar's sequel. She spelled sequel wrong, so I assume she wants to know our opinions on sequels to Avatar.
So, like, we're talking about the movie or like Legend of Korra sequels to Avatar?
Was there only one season of Korra? Oh wait, no, that's a sequel to Avatar. I follow you.
Right? Yeah, that's.
I'm hip with the.
I'm
animes.
guessing she means sequels to the. Is it still the biggest movie ever made?
I think Endgame is going to surpass it pretty soon if it hasn't already, at least in U.S. dollars.
Oh, that's right, because Endgame's getting that re-release with new footage that's going to blow it out.
Yeah.
If you can even count that as all part of the same... I mean, that's cheating, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about Avatar is, like, for it to do what it did and be its own, like, IP, like, out of nowhere, like, the script written and everything completely fresh, like, it's pretty goddamn impressive, even for James Cameron.
I will say right off the bat that I have difficulty answering this question because I've never seen Avatar. So I have.
You're one of those 8 people.
Yeah, I'm one of those 8 people, and this wasn't a conscious I'm not going to go see Avatar. It was more of I just kept expecting to see it with someone. So, like, I'd expected that, I'm probably going to go see that with my dad. So when people asked me to go see it, like, no, I told my dad I'd go see it with him. And then that didn't end up happening. So then, like, it just became so long that, I just never got...
you made up, or are you telling a heartbreaking story of your dad blowing you off for the movies?
No, this is real. This is a real thing that happened. I had some kind of semi-concrete plans to see it, so I blew off everyone else who was asking me if I wanted to see it. At which point, the original plans with my dad, for some reason, didn't happen. One of us was sick, or snow, or whatever it was, and now there was no one to see it with, for at least to have that, like, both seeing it for the first time experience. And at that point, just like the momentum of my excitement was gone, and I never ended up seeing it.
Huh.
And now it just seems like the kind of thing that I'm not going to sit in my basement and watch it on a 42-inch Samsung, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it was the spectacle of the whole thing.
Right. And that's what I was excited for.
Yeah. It's one of the few movies that could actually justify being in 3D. So, and now no one owns a 3D TV or a 3D Blu-ray player, so it's definitely past its prime.
So, I mean, I'm all for sequels to Avatar. You know, it sounds great. I for anyone, I bet you if they do a sequel for Avatar, if and when that happens and the release is coming up, they'll do a re-release in theaters of the original, and then maybe I'll get a chance to finally see it.
Yeah, and that'll be a good way to see it. Yeah, I mean, the thing with it is like they've already pre-planned like 4 sequels to one movie. It just feels weird. I know it's super successful, and I know James Cameron's a smart guy, but like at some point he's going to hand it off to somebody else, and it's going to turn into like Jurassic Park: Fallen Kingdom, where it's like their plot line is, well, what if everything blows up? And then James Cameron's probably dead at this point and rolling in his grave. I mean, so I'm one of these people that didn't really like Avatar that much. Like, it was a spectacle. I didn't see it in 3D. I saw it in like 1080p on like a good TV. I saw it. I didn't see it in the movies, but like other than like the spectacle of it, like the story was meh. Like I don't like I get the universe that James Cameron was trying to build, and I can see maybe some other plot lines, but it wasn't this like mind blowing universe. Sort of like I don't know. I always think of Cyberpunk, so forgive me, everyone, but it's not this universe where I see like infinite possibilities for storytelling.
Sure.
It's like James Cameron told Dances with Wolves, but with blue people, um, and it was fun. So I'm curious. I don't want to naysay the whole thing, but you know, if anyone can do it, James Cameron can. So, hooray!
Oh, okay, so take that little snippet of information, use that to further align yourself, listener, with either Brent or myself as the person that you feel more comfortable listening to their opinions on.
Yes, who has more handsome opinions on Avatar?
And then, so for mine, I've got. How do you feel about key lime pie?
Oh, this comes up again. I jokingly tweeted that to you the other day on one of our threads
Mm-hmm.
on Twitter. Follow us, guys.
We have some of the hottest takes on there.
I I really like key lime pie. The thing that my argument was that it's not a fucking pie. So the whole it's more of a naming thing, sort of like people that think like tacos and hot dogs are sandwiches. Like go to hell.
Okay, no, let's
But
let's let's step this
does it
back.
make them?
Let's
To
step
which
this
part?
back and to which criteria of pie does this not fit for you? Just out of my own curiosity. I'm not
Well,
saying whether I agree or disagree with you. I just want to know what line you're drawing.
I think that it's a cake, and I think that its closest relative is a cheesecake, and I think a cheesecake is justifiably a cheese cake or a cake. Um, it's like a pie is very distinctly, crust, crispy, crusty, with things inside. Like you layer it, and then you have a filling. Key lime pie,
Right.
it's the key lime's all exposed. Like maybe there's crust on the bottom, but the rest of it's just out in the open like a filthy cake whore.
So, do you not consider pumpkin pie a pie?
No, same criteria. That's
Okay.
the pie. The pie's a lie.
Okay. So, and the same would be for like a coconut cream pie. You would not consider that as well because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
basically
same.
just pudding in a pie shell.
Exactly. Yeah, put some
Okay.
crust on top of it, and you got a pie. Or
So,
yeah,
so if I made, again, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with anything you're saying. I'm just trying to further understand.
yeah. No, we're writing the rules right now. I got you.
Yeah, if I made a coconut cream pie and I put a top over it, it would be a pie to you.
If it was a pie crust, if you just put
Yes,
like
a pie
sheet of
crust.
paper, then
Obviously,
we'd have problems.
but if I took it and I put a nice lattice work pie crust over the top of essentially set coconut cream custard there in the middle,
Yeah, absolutely.
that okay. Do you discount open like berry pies? Like a cherry pie that does not have a top?
Yeah, I would think so. I think you got a berry cake at that point.
All right, okay. That
Strong opinions.
is
Sorry.
no. There's a lot to unpack there. I don't think we have the time. It's very interesting.
do you disagree? What are your strong opinions on pies?
So there was a time about 7 years ago where I got into a shouting match with someone at work about whether or not Snickers pie was pie.
What is a Snickers pie?
A Snickers pie is like, it's got chocolate, caramel, peanuts, sometimes like a peanut butter drizzle on top. But it's like a chocolate pie with caramel and peanuts and stuff like that over the top. And usually does not have a top to it. And there was a very loud shouting match in the office at around 9 a.m. of just screaming about whether or not Snickers pie was a pie. And so, I've definitely, I'm still reeling from that moment then, and how out of hand it had gotten.
Well, I don't want this to be a really emotional episode, so
No,
you don't need to relive it.
I'm a fan of the dessert named as key lime pie.
Formerly known as.
I'm taking a very diplomatic approach here. If you were to hand me a slice of what is commonly known as key lime pie, I would thank you and I would enjoy it heartily. I like graham cracker crust a lot. I think that's tasty. And I think that can be used to a lot of good effect, like in a key lime pie. Mm-hmm. But I disagree with you on your definition of pies. But I don't know. I couldn't tell. It's like the Supreme Court in pornography. I could not tell you where that line is for when it stops being a pie and starts being frosting in a pie shell.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know where that is, because cheesecake is a weird one. I've seen people put, you see people put the graham cracker crust in a cheesecake, but it's weird. I'm gesticulating everywhere because I don't know how to put into words these these things that are very clear in my mind. That's
fine. Yeah, we can dedicate an entire new podcast to this.
Yeah,
Pie Off. Welcome to the Off Network.
We'll solve these issues. Hot dog is a sandwich, key lime pie, and other desserts. Really delineating them. I think you calling it a cake is really a stretch.
Oh,
but that's for another day. It's for another podcast. Some other
the most
day.
Adversarial episode of Game Off ever recorded.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad.
All right.
So I think of all the things that we've talked about so far, people listening are going to hear this discussion right here, and they're going to know immediately which one of us they want to hear from and which one of us they never want to hear from again. Because they're going to say, that Andy was so wishy-washy. He refused to take a stand during Brent's nonsense. I can't listen to him. I can't take him seriously.
Yes, and Brent just drools diarrhea about something about pies. Like, do they have to be green anymore? I don't know. What's this country come to?
All right, let's move on to the news.
Yeah. So, anyways, to our new listeners, this is a video game podcast.
Yep.
So we're gonna get to that now that we're in our 13th minute.
Do you want to start with our big story or the big exciting news today, or do you want me to take that?
Yeah, I'll jump at it.
Yeah.
So this week, the big news, and we're going to cover it too, because I'm sure we got some interesting opinions on this. The big news is EA going in front of the UK Parliament and trying to qualify loot boxes as fun surprises. I have the direct quote here that we can read in a moment, but basically EA is trying to justify to the UK Parliament that the loot box culture in all their games is completely ethical, to which most people would decry as insanity, especially since they've kicked off the whole debate with their own game, Battlefront 2. And now we're seeing sort of this whole thing peak.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really enjoyed, I don't know if you watched Jim Sterling's video on it. He had his...
I have not.
And I mean, as far as pundits in the gaming sphere who have had a few things to say about loot boxes, he's a good one to go to. But he pointed out that the reply from EA, the very first thing they said was a lie, in that she says that they don't like to call them loot boxes, and we don't call them loot boxes. And you can find, Jim Sterling points out when they did the big announcement for Jedi Fallen Order, how it wouldn't have loot boxes in it.
Quote unquote loot boxes.
Right. And then if you do, and then I since then have gone, and if you just search on their website, they're referenced constantly and support forums and pages where they're being referred to by their customers and by their support agents as loot boxes. So like just to pretend
Sure,
that
they're on their
loot box,
FAQs too.
yeah, to pretend like loot box is a term that is, oh well, we don't call them that. That's a weird term, like, and not like that's the term. This is what they're called. Everyone
Yeah.
in the industry calls them this.
Yeah.
You can't just suddenly decide that because it's got a bad connotation now, that's not what it ever was.
Right. It's like LA calling homeless people housing deprived people.
Right.
It's like, no, we don't have a homeless problem. We have a problem with people being deprived of houses.
So, oh, well then that sounds fine then.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like an issue
you know,
at all.
You know, I rent too. I got this. I know that struggle.
It's I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked because they're in front of a governmental body. But what I really wish, because I watched through the 15 minutes or so, I wish that they had people in there who were better, more knowledgeable about the subject to come back at them. Because in all of these hearings, in the ones I've seen in the United States, anytime they talk about things with video games or tech in general, it seems like they've got one or two questions and they don't know how to follow up on them. And it's not like EA was sending their best.
And that's the scariest thing. So this comes from EA's Legal and Government Affairs VP. This isn't just some like counsel that they hired to cover their asses in the UK. This is someone that they employ. And they're the quote that's gotten them into all the fire is as follows.
Oh, right, we didn't even use that line.
Yeah, might as well cover our bases. So that is what we look at as surprise mechanics in reference to loot boxes. It is important to look at this. If you go to, I don't know what your version of Target is, a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, you'll find that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises. It is something that has been part of toys for years, whether it is Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. Is this not like the most tone-deaf fucking statement you ever heard? The man doesn't even know what stores they have in the country that he's like giving his appeal.
And since Belgium, I think Belgium was the first one to actually put anything into law or attempt to put anything into law. Whatever, it was 6-8 months ago. But since Belgium made their thing, they've had all of this time to try and really formulate a good argument. That they've had all of this time to try and put together something coherent, and this is the best that they've got. Is
surprise mechanics,
and they're like referring to Kinder Eggs and Hatchimals, and like those arguments have already been done to death on any forum you go to that discusses loot boxes for years. People have been people have been arguing that it's not the same as Kinder Eggs, it's not the same as Magic, trading card booster packs, and just nothing. Yeah. Like there's still, I don't know if it's just hubris or laziness or the fact that governmental bodies aren't pushing back on it, but it's just like, it feels like I'm reading the transcript of a conversation that, a conversation I had on Reddit 5 years ago.
I know. I mean, let's break that down for a second. Like, what are you getting from a Kinder Egg or a Hatchimal or a booster pack of Magic cards? You're getting something tangible in your hands that has a fucking resale value, or you're getting goddamn chocolatey goodness and then also a toy. Like, you're getting something. You're not just gambling. Like, there's a reason that you don't go into a casino with fake chips, which is essentially what you're buying loot boxes with, and then you're letting a 12-year-old put $500 on black, and he could very easily walk out of that hall with nothing.
Yeah, it's such a tone deaf and willful misunderstanding of the situation, because like it's the only situation I can think of where you can win and lose at the same time, where you can, because if they compare it to something like Kinder Eggs versus, like, I'm trying to think of even an analog in gambling where like I could win a hand of blackjack, but because I had won on 18 previously, I actually still don't get paid. Like,
Yeah.
whoops, you've already won on that before. Like, it's
Yeah.
I don't
We didn't
know.
block it out for you. We still let you put your money on 18. We just had no
Right.
intention of paying you out for it.
Right. It's sorry. You should have just done different. I can't even put into words how frustrating it is, because
It's
it's so lazy on their part, and I feel like really competent people questioning them, people who were invested and done a lot of research in loot boxes as a cultural thing and as
mhm.
a part of gaming culture, I feel like they could have really made them look super stupid. And now all we have is them having accidentally or intentionally made themselves look super stupid. Like,
Thank
but we
God.
don't have some regulatory body or some legislator really pounding in on them on how their arguments are lazy and poorly founded.
No, that's a really good point too. Because I don't know anything about the oversight committee that heard these appeals, but they probably heard this and they were like, okay, I don't play Magic cards. I'm 65. I don't see the difference. Um,
I, and I will just as a quick side note, I've done some searching in online, and I can't find anyone prior to this year referring to loot boxes in any way as surprise mechanics. Like that term, I can't find it as I can see it in use, like referring to aspects of video games, but nothing that could even be, liberally referred or considered as loot boxes. It's all
yeah,
like everything I'm finding is there's nothing here. I can't find any record of it being used to refer as a
it's
reference
because
to
it's
loot boxes
horseshit.
prior now. Yeah, because she
up
just made it up.
until yeah, like up until it was recognized as gambling by the European Union, they were fine calling it loot boxes. And then
Yeah,
as soon as they got that tag, they're like, "Oh shit, we got to get crafty.
yeah.
Oh, it's time, boys. Loot
Well,
boxes sounded cute."
they said, "Oh shit, we got to get crafty," and then they woke up that morning and did it on the bus on the way to school. Like that's the real frustrating part of it, is they didn't even try.
Yeah.
You didn't even
Insert a photo of this guy reading off his hand from smudged pen marks. Surprise mechanics. Genius.
you guys buying this? Is that good? It's surprise mechanics.
Yeah.
You guys aren't
Being
arguing
a
with me?
lure is
Okay, we're gonna go
easy.
forward with it.
Yeah, and it's important to be critical about this too, because like EA obviously doesn't have great reputation on the internet, and I don't like to bag on them for every stupid decision that they make, but this is like gross. Like I read this and I was like, oh man, like you lost whatever
Well,
goodwill you've been trying to build up for the last 2 years, dudes.
oh, and the thing is, and I have this note I forgot about until now. The FIFA and Madden loot boxes made them $1.1 billion last year.
Oh god.
21% of their total revenue, and half of their live service, another great buzzword, revenue, was just from FIFA and Madden blind packs. Like,
Yes.
it
Live
doesn't.
service is going to be one of those like trigger words soon too. Like it sounds cute, but all that it means is like monetization on top of the game you've already sold.
Right.
Like
Yeah, it's.
Ultimate Team is the only reason that FIFA is like as big as it is for EA. Like would they be putting it out every year just to sell copies of FIFA? No, they want to give people another reason to reinvest in Ultimate Team or
Well,
transfer their teams and pay more, like whatever their system is.
and I've noticed, as I go to TJ Maxx a lot, being an adult,
Sure.
being an adult male with a family, I spend a lot of
To
my
take
time at
notes,
TJ
kids.
Maxx. Yeah, yeah, you've got that to look forward to. And one of the things I noticed is, since the kind of advent of this more live service microtransaction thing, sports games have been making their way into TJ Maxx faster. I've seen copies of just yesterday actually saw a copy of NBA 2K18 at TJ Maxx.
Hmm,
And I was
interesting.
thinking back to the 2000s, how long it took for those older sports games to go down in price.
Did
It
you
it
see
was
that NBA 2K19 was on sale for $3. That's the current iteration of NBA 2K19 for $3 during everyone's E3 sales. I don't. So that's like it probably goes along with what you're saying. Like they're trying to get people into this live service marketplace, or like the physical copies with the massive blossom of digital distribution, like have sort of like thrown off physical distribution completely. Like they're just like overproducing on physical copies too.
Yeah, just get as many of them out there as you can. Get everything you can out there. Just get people into this ecosystem and
rain
get
on
them
concrete.
And then make sure you put on another one next year, because even though it's a different roster, and now we can get people to buy more blind packs for the same people they had in the last game, but just do it again. Start the cycle over again.
Yeah, there's a reason a lot of big games going free to play, like Destiny. Like,
yeah,
just get it in everyone's hands and let them be stupid with their money, because there's no regulations around it.
Now, why would you need to? It's just fun games.
Just fun games. Just video
fun games.
It's not a serious business. Well,
I guess we'll move on to our showcase game off battle here.
Showcase of the week. What are the games, Andy?
The games we've got are Supraland and Void Bastards, two kind of more indie titles this week, which I'm excited about.
We figured because of all the E3 hype and how busy we've been, live tweeting for the last 8 days straight, we do some indie games. Kick it off for us.
Okay, so I'll give you the general idea of what Supraland is. I'd never heard of this prior to it coming out. Supraland is an open world first-person puzzle game. It has kind of a slight narrative going through it. You are living in a world that was it's basically in a sandbox made by a child. So all the buildings and everything and the people are these red and blue people made out of clay that look like they're kind of cut out with a gingerbread man cookie cutter. And things are made out of, toy screwdrivers and upturned buckets and things like that. Very clearly made by a child. And scaled down to that fact. So if you ever played any of those Counter-Strike or Quake or Unreal Tournament levels where you're tiny in a giant kitchen, it kind of has that feel to it. It is, as far as story goes, I'd say it's pretty weak. The story is just kind of whatever. But as far as puzzle mechanics go and just general first-person puzzle gameplay, I would say it's the best one I've ever played. I would say it tops Talos Principle, Witness, Cube, even Portal 1 and 2, as far as just sheer puzzling.
Okay.
I love all of those
puzzles.
In quality and ingenuity of puzzles.
Okay.
And I think one of the big things, and I spent, in preparation for this, I spent a while trying to figure out how to explain the ingenuity of the puzzles, because I don't want to spoil any of it for anyone listening. This is what I got. I spent probably about half an hour trying to put this together to figure out how to explain the way, because the game introduces mechanics and then builds on them organically, and almost never is handing you a, like, hey, you just picked up this and this is what you can do with it. It orchestrates situations where you accidentally realize things can happen. So, like, here's the best explanation I've come up with. So imagine you start off and you've got a red key which can open a red door. And then you find a green key that opens a green door. And then you realize by sheer accident that if you drop your green key from a decent height, it actually breaks in half into a blue key and a yellow key.
Oh.
And then you find out that if you take the yellow key and put it on top of the red key and jump on both of them, that creates an orange key.
What?
And then you find out that this is all hypothetical. None of this is actually in the game, but this style of building. Then you find out that your keys can float, so that you can toss them in a river, so they wash downstream to another place where an NPC can, behind a locked door, can pick them up and open the door for you. Then you run to a huge beast. Oh yeah, there's NPCs that you interact with and that you're trying to help do different things.
Nice.
Then you've got a puzzle with a huge beast that isn't taking damage from you, but if you can throw the key into its mouth, it'll take damage because 20 minutes earlier, it was worked into dialogue very organically several times that the keys are actually made of poison. And that's all organically worked into dialogue where you don't, it's not an obvious, like, highlighted in blue made of poison and repeated over and over again, but just you're in an area where the theme is the keys are made of poison.
Navi doesn't jump in like, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Then you come across a white door, and you don't have any white keys, but you realize that if you kill an NPC next to the door, his blood splatters on it, and now it's a red door. And you've got a red key to open that. And then you've got a pink
key-based game.
Yeah, you've got a pink door, and you can't open the pink door with, you don't have a pink key, but the machine that generates the red keys is in the middle of the desert, and if you don't pick up the red key automatically or immediately, it starts fading in the sun into a pink key. Like, it's that level of just really organic. And like in the last example of the thing in the desert, you would only ever notice that, or you'd only ever realize that if you let it sit there for a second. But if the machine is constantly generating them anyways, you're going to kind of notice it eventually after trying a couple other things. So it's...
Yeah, if you walk away or something.
Yeah, you walk away, you come back, and oh shit, that's actually getting lighter in the sun.
Yeah.
That's the way their puzzle design worked. And throughout the entire game, up until the final boss puzzle, they're just coming up with new ways to use your existing mechanics that you... Even though they're kind of hand-feeding it to you and forcing you down this path, you don't see the way that they forced you down there. And so it feels like you're just making these amazing discoveries of, oh shit, it can do this. Oh my god. And you get these abilities that are handed to you that allow you to interact with things that you didn't even realize were interactable. Parts of scenery that suddenly now become, things that, like if you found out suddenly that you have a magic laser that will let you shrink or grow the size of any item that's red. And so it's just something that's given to you, and now you think back to this open world game of all the red objects you had seen and how those could have been shrunk or grown to allow you access to different areas.
So I'm having a little trouble picturing the game itself. You described the art style. Is this all first person, like Witness? Or
yeah, it's a first person game. It plays because there is some combat. There are enemies that run around. You do have a couple of weapons to fight them with.
Okay.
You have like a sword and other things, and the combat's garbage. I think it very much detracts from the game anytime it's in there. I don't think it's fun, but it's also not really there enough that it ruins the game experience.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't.
So it's sort of like Minecraft first-person combat.
Yes, that's actually a very good explanation, or a very good analog for it. It's you've got a sword and other things. You're flailing them around, and you hit stuff, and it eventually dies.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's there. It's not. It's competent, but it in no way adds to the game. And frequently, when it came up, it was just, oh, okay, all right, do this and this and this. Okay, back to puzzles.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's the general gist of it. It's just a really phenomenally designed puzzle game, and if you like puzzle, if you like that Portal style of you're just presented with this puzzle and you just kind of have to work through it yourself. I cannot recommend it enough. I hope this game sold 1 billion, and it's got a free demo on Steam, and it's a long demo.
There you go, guys. Check it the fuck out.
Check it the fuck out. Now tell us about Void Bastards.
Yeah. Void Bastards, I don't know if there's a demo, but so similarly, it's a first-person game. It's mainly... It's not a story-based game. It's mainly a roguelike game. If people are familiar with roguelikes, it essentially means there's a permadeath mechanic, and you're trying to build on... the experiences of your former life. It's a sort of a bird's eye view, but essentially you're a reanimated prisoner. You've basically been dehydrated into a bag, and and when this I forget what the explanation is for it, but essentially you're being put through your paces trying to survive and escape this nebula. And so you start, and basically you're jumping from ship to ship, trying to scavenge parts to make your arsenal stronger, scavenge food, because obviously flying through space, you need food and fuel, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that I really liked about the game was like next to nothing gets in the way of what the game's trying to do. Like when you're playing through each level, basically you're only in the overmap for as long as it takes for you to craft something really quick or build a weapon. And then you're right back in another ship, or you're trying to avoid space whales or pirates in the star map and scavenge more parts, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like I said, the story, there's next to no story, so nothing really gets in the way of it. It's more of a gameplay oriented sort of game, so there's not really much more to say about it in the overview. I can speak a little bit stylistically before we go over the design of the game, but it's a very, very beautiful game. It's sort of cell shaded, and it's presented with a very heavy-handed comic book styling. Every cutscene sort of goes I don't know, what are they called in comic books? Just compartment by compartment, essentially.
Panels.
That's it. Yeah, so it's a panel-based storytelling. You're in this 3D world. All of the enemies have really cool sprites because they're actually 2D. So when they turn, 45 degrees, you're just seeing like a different 2D version of the same model. So it looks it very stylistically pleasing. I guess I'll save everything else for the next categories because there really isn't much more to say in them.
Why don't you just go, and I think it's probably worth pointing out that this is, I think, the first instance we've had so far where at the time of recording, you and I had both played that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so jump in if you have any.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also for you because I went a bit beyond the general scope of my initial thing. So if you want to just jump right into gameplay and the rest, the next category with Void Bastards,
yeah,
probably
sure,
makes sense. But I think the humor is definitely, I think, one of its biggest as far as just style. One of the biggest selling points of the game is that it has this very kind of dry British humor to it.
Yeah. Every time one of the prisoners dies, they're all very nonchalant about it. The AI that sort of guides you is like, oh, our former client left all these things for you. He was in a rush to get out and stuff like that. And all the my favorite thing was every time you're reanimated, it tells you what your crime was, and one of them was something ridiculous like left clothes out on the drying line for too many days or something like that. And his punishment was like 10 years. Stuff like that. Like the more you dive into it, it's hilarious.
There's a lot of the traits that get generated for each playthrough that you do have that kind of humor to them as well. I got one where I was overly formal, and so I referred to everyone by their everyone by their proper name. So instead of janitor, it said like Mr. Stevens.
Oh, that's great.
And I think all of the turrets were referred to as like Mr. Shooty or something like that.
Mr. Shooty. I didn't get this one. That's amazing.
Oh, it's great. It's a great one. I got another one where you always found a packet of biscuits in the lunchroom by the tea kettle. Like that was your trait. You always had that little bit of food there.
Oh my god, I didn't like that. That's hilarious. Yeah. So to jump on that, I mean the gameplay it's essentially a survival game. Since it's a first person game, you're mainly shooting. One of the things I didn't like about the gameplay was that there was no melee. I can see why they did it. There's also no jumping.
The lack of melee definitely felt because at first, especially, ammo is such a rare commodity.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
I felt very gimped by a lack of melee.
Yep. my first 3 or 4 playthroughs, I ran out of bullets left and right, and then after that, it was like they were just raining from the sky, so it was okay. But the game does not want you to play through with one prisoner. It very much wants you to die, as most roguelikes do.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
you're playing you're redoing those first 3 ships a lot.
yeah. One of the things I thought was pretty weak about the game too was the stealth mechanic. I It
Yeah,
felt really shoehorned into the game. Like I never felt like I should be stealthing, and every time I would still fail because usually when you're stealthing, you're trying to avoid something, maybe because you have like a lack of bullets or something. But every time I had to do it, it was through a room that was completely chock full of enemies, and there was 0% chance of me getting through that area without being seen and attacked. So my primary my primary deference or deferral from bullets was always just to sprint through the entire map, grabbing things, and then run back to the ship.
that was kind of my biggest frustration with it as well, was that there didn't often seem to be a lot of benefit to fighting things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like just running through, I run in this room, grab everything you can, run out, because you can lock
Oh
the
yeah,
door behind you and that'll slow them down,
yeah,
and just keep moving through the ship as quickly as possible.
yeah. Most enemies don't drop loot, so there's no point in killing them. I mean, if they do drop loot, it's usually pretty crummy. I think in one ship they were all like predestined to drop money, but they were dropping $1 each, which can't buy you shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, not really all that helpful.
yeah. Um, so like with the lack of bullets, like the main reason you're killing enemies is to clear them out so that they're just out of the way. But they also, most of them didn't do enough damage other than the turrets to be a real problem. So like you said, you could just sprint through a zone where you can see good. An important thing to say is you can see where loot is on the mini map, so you very easily just sprint from item to item and get the fuck out. Enemies don't chase you that far. If the gameplay loop for me sort of got stale after a while, because I thought that, I would start to feel more comfortable with combat, and then like there would be a reason to get in combat more, but that sort of never happened for me.
I think that's probably a good, just general synopsis of my issue with the game, was that often I found myself like looking at the things that I could do next and not feeling compelled or like there was a reason to do any of them.
Yeah.
Like, it got to a point where I had a bunch of things that I could theoretically, like I was one part away from building on my little build table, and I wasn't excited or interested in any of them.
Yeah.
None of them felt like they were going to be the thing that, oh, finally I can take on this thing. Finally I'm able to get past that barrier of a door I couldn't unlock, or a ship I couldn't survive in long enough, or an enemy I could. It was just okay. This is better. This gun does slightly more damage,
Mm-hmm.
or this gun does more damage, but in a spread. But the fighting isn't. I still don't really feel compelled to fight things. So
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, because it got to a point where I would be hovering over ships too, where it very clearly says like there's a part here that you can use to build something, like maybe not yet, but it's a valuable part and you should stop here. And also you're about to be starving to death. And I would be like, I don't really want to. Like, this is sort of when I stopped playing the game. It's like I'm not invested in building towards my next playthrough with any of these items. I was just zerging all the story items and just pushing it as far as I could, going out of my way to avoid space whales and space pirates. Um, so yeah, the mechanic, like you said, the skill tree, the item trees, whatever you want to call them, sort of got whatevery midway to late into the game. The gameplay loop itself gets a little stale just because it stops being a survival game, but it never really becomes anything else.
yeah, there's a really good game in there somewhere, because like the style, the humor, the writing, and the general just feel of going through it was all great, but it needed something pushing me forward.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an FTL where, I felt like I have to try again. I have to go through that again. I know I can do better this time if I just do this one thing. And then maybe that's what it was, is that I never felt like I was doing things differently from playthrough to playthrough. I was never getting new things, because you don't really pick up new stuff every run.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very high likelihood that runs 6 through 12 all have the same equipment that you're running through. So
No, that's a good point.
I didn't feel like I needed to do another run to see what else was there, because it was going to be the same as it was last time, and I'm not going to get much further than I did last time, so I'm not going to see a new enemy type. I'm going to try and get this one item, and maybe I'll get it, and if I don't, I'll just go again.
Yeah, this has quickly turned into bagging the game. I will say that I did really enjoy it, but
yep.
But yeah, more to your point. Every time I died, I didn't feel like it was my fault. Like it certainly was sometimes, but I think half of my deaths were to space whales, and then I was like, I just didn't look that far in advance on the nebula map, and I fucked up. Like stuff like that didn't make me be like, I fucked up. I know how to fix it. I can do this better. It was like, that sucks.
And that's, I think, what it is that, and I want to be clear, I did like Void Bastards a lot. I had a lot of fun with it, and I put probably 12, 13 hours into it, just dicking around with it. But there was never that moment of, I know what I did wrong this time, I gotta do it again.
Yeah.
That a good roguelike has. Something like Rogue Legacy, or what was the one we just say, FTL, or even Into the Breach. That just like, okay, I know I can do it better this time. I know I can. And I just never had that with Void Bastards, unless it was, I can do it better this time because I got the item that I needed to upgrade that gun.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be more this time,
right? Or a game like Dead Cells, which like
God, that's a much better.
Between playthrough to playthrough, like it is still the same experience, but you have to change your entire playstyle depending on which items you get. So that alone changes everything. It's not necessarily you need to change this one minor aspect of what you did last time. It's I need to rethink exactly how I'm going about this. Like,
yeah, it's still a good game though. Still fun.
yeah. I mean, I'll segue straight into sound and art because we pretty much covered it all. But like, it was absolutely beautiful. It was hilarious. The design got me around every corner. Oh shoot, I forgot to cover this. So one of the things I really liked about the game, actually, and this falls under gameplay still, the game really allowed you, very similar to Supraland, to learn organically how to be efficient. When you walk up to doors, you'll be able to read the noises behind the doors, and you won't necessarily understand what the noises are until you've experienced every enemy. But each enemy makes a unique noise.
That was a really clever mechanic.
Yeah, so you'd walk up to the door and you'd see in like comic font, like squish, 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 and then you'd know immediately that it was a blob monster. Or eventually you learn which ships will have specific items. So if you're just looking to get money, you'll go to the giant Regal ship. Or if you're looking to just get ammo, you'll go to the combat-oriented ship. Stuff like that. So you can learn to be really efficient about your farming and survival. So it does. There's really smart level design there on top of everything else they do really intelligently. It really is just the gameplay loop itself that sort of stagnates later on. But yeah, so jump back to Supraland because we've been on Void Bastards for a bit. You got anything else you want to add to the gameplay? I know you just covered the art and sound a little bit.
Yeah, it's very open. Like you kind of have a general objective, as far as story objective, get to this place and talk to this person kind of things. But you can just wander around. And it's been a while since I've played an open world game that really felt like that. Like, it wasn't, even though the game clearly has gated off areas that you can't access because you don't have the abilities to do that yet. It didn't feel like a lot of open world games I've played where like I always think of like GTA with like, oh, all the bridges are out today and for the next week or however long it takes you to get to this point in the story.
Yeah.
Whereas with Superland, because it's a puzzle game, it almost felt like if I just knew how this puzzle worked, I could get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an invisible wall put there. I mean, it is, because you don't have the thing that opens that door. But you look at it, I bet you I'm close to figuring this out. And then eventually you get the item, and then you're there. In almost like a Metroidvania way.
Yeah, I was wondering that if you were just not smart enough, or you didn't have the items that you need.
Sometimes it was that you didn't have the items. Other times it was that you had them, but the game hadn't encouraged you to figure out that you could use them in the right way.
Right.
So and that was sometimes some of the more interesting revelations, where you'd think back to areas where you'd seen a pink door, to go back to my old example, and realizing like, I've had red keys this whole time that I could have just put down on the ground and waited a minute, and I could have opened that pink door at any time, but I didn't, because that configuration of influences and variables hadn't been presented to me yet, so I would never have thought to try it.
Yeah.
So that made it feel, even though it was kind of leading you down a general path of puzzles, it never felt like you were being railroaded.
Yeah, there's no right way to play the game.
Yeah, and because everything is kind of this organic exploration, it doesn't feel like you don't feel like you're at a well, I can either solve this puzzle or stop playing because this is the only thing to do. So that was good. I like that aspect of it a lot. As far as the sound and art design, the style works really well. Everything kind of has this kind of clay plasticky feel to it.
It's not like stop animation, is it?
No, it's just the things are shiny.
Oh, okay.
So it has a very toy-like feel to it.
Okay, that's cool.
And yeah, it's a good art style throughout. Everything, there's a lot of. They did a very good job capturing what a giant world made by children would feel like. There's not much else to say beyond that as far as of design goes. It's pretty simple.
So you very much like the childlike game design, is what I'm hearing from the two only games that you liked in the year 2019.
They're so visually distinct from so many other games coming out now.
Yeah.
Because like Yoshi in this one as well, they're not pixelated, they're not retro throwbacks, they're not hyper realistic. They're not, it's just here is a very a unique and recognizable art design.
Yeah.
Something that's gonna pop. And it's like, oh shit, bright colors in a well lit world.
Yeah, that's sort of how I felt when Gato Roboto was start coming out. I was like, man, this has been played pretty hard by now. Like, this is such a unique style that's been played to death in the last year and a half.
Yeah, and we were talking in chat earlier, and that was another Devolver game that did not get well reviewed. It was just kind of middling. I saw a lot of 6s and 7s.
Yeah, goddamn shame. All right.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah. All right. So what else? I'll wrap up with Void Bastards by saying a little bit more about the sound and art design. Like I said, the 2D animated perspectives of the enemies I thought was really cool, because obviously it reminded me immediately of the OG Doom, where you're seeing either head on or them running away. You basically only have 3 different perspectives of them, and then the rest are mirrored of those 3 perspectives. So it's really cool. You don't get to see that enough. There was another game that came out recently that I was excited to see them do that turned out to be kind of shitty. I forget the name of it. Anyway,
was it Project Warlock?
No, that was the game we talked about. You said it was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That's why I was bringing it up. Yeah, they had that.
Oh, yeah, no, it's cool. I hope more games do that. I liked that the each ship. There was a variety of ships, like I'd mentioned before. Each one had unique loots and room and level design. There was enough ships, unique ships, that probably like 6 or 7 hours into the game, I was like, oh, I haven't been on one of these before. So I thought that was cool. My favorite thing out of all the design of the game was the goddamn star map music, because it was beautiful when you're bouncing between ship to ship. It's just like this beautiful sort of it's like a synthwave music, and then every time you move, it sort of makes this nice like ping to the rhythm of the music. So it's like, and then you get like a boop 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 every time you move. Is like I probably spent like a good like 45 minutes to an hour out of my total playtime just diddling around listening to music.
The sound design of the game is great.
Yeah. Also, like the enemies are all voice, and they have hilarious voice lines too. I know the blobs, like there's these little blue blobs with like fedora hats, and if you listen to them talk, they're just like, they say weird things like, "Where's Barbara?" And then you walk in, and then they explode as soon as you get near them, and they're like, "What's happening?" And then they explode. Oh god. Very, very cute game. Very fun. I shouldn't say cute, because it's very much a mature game. Very, very, very adults only humor in many parts of it.
Yes,
don't
very much so.
Don't let the comics fool you. There's a lot of death and gore. I think when you die, your backpack peels off of your body very grotesquely and walks away, and just like leaves this bleeding corpse on the ground.
I really liked it. I liked that conceit of it. The whole idea of being a rehydrated prisoner.
Yeah,
that was a really neat idea.
Oh god, the animation where it just pours the dehydrated human into the ship's like what do you call it, cockpit, and it just dumps water in, and then you just sprout out. There's a lot of fun in this game. But yeah. So overall, it was really addictive while I was still really invested in the gameplay loop. But it was like too weak on the action part of the game. Like it didn't feel like the game marketed itself as so much as an action survival stealth game as it did sort of an actiony roguelike game. So I think I got a little bit of mixed messaging going into it, but overall I still...
I made a lot of assumptions about it going in as far as what kind of game it was going to be.
Yeah.
Whether it was for marketing or just my own mistakes, but I ran into that same trap.
Well, yeah, I mean, two out of two Game Off hosts agree. Confusing. We got confused leading into the game, marketing or otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it's really fun. If you like roguelikes, if you like first-person shooters... I shouldn't even say first-person shooters, because that's probably the weakest part of the game. Watch a trailer. If you think it looks fun, it's because it is fun, at least for 6 to 10 hours. After that, you might move on, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I could agree with all that.
It's a $20 game. I felt like I got my money's worth. Very happy with it for the short time I played.
Yeah, what more do you guys want? Yeah. What more do you people want? Yeah. It's fine.
So angry. All right. What are your final thoughts on Supraland?
Supraland is currently my game of the year.
Oh,
I'm going to throw that out there right now. It is the best thing I've played this year, just as far as sheer joy and enjoyment I've had in it. I cannot, if you like first person puzzle games, I cannot recommend it enough. As long as you have the understanding and the caveat that, like, I'm fully admit the combat's kind of trash and not really necessary. But if you can just kind of ignore it and just, okay, yeah, I gotta fight things, whatever. You think of it like the menu system in Skyrim. Like, the menus are horrible and impossible to navigate, especially on PC. But yeah, you just get around it because the rest of the game's amazing.
I mean, if someone like you can forgive a game for having a bad UI, that says it all.
Yeah, UI is like the thing that I most care about in games.
It's true, guys.
I don't care if it's fun or not, as long as it has a good usable UI. I think that's the thing I've complained to you most about games
100%.
In the years that I've known you, is interacting with the UI in one way or another.
Yeah, everything that gets in the way of your gameplay. I'm surprised you even play games sometimes. boot up the menu and you're like, what the fuck is this? It disgusts me.
This is why I love Excel so much, because like I open it up and there's a spreadsheet. It's right there.
It's right there.
The cursor's already in A1. No. Yeah, that's why
pre-2015.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I only install up to 2010. Office 2010 was the best revision of Excel. That's still my number one. That's my productivity suite of the year.
Every year since 2010.
Every year since 2010. It's still nothing's beating it.
Oh, well, spoiler alerts for the last 9 years of Office off.
It's back to, just to wrap up. It's great. Everything about it is well done. The humor is a bit cringy at times, but I don't care. It's puzzles. It's just amazing puzzles. It's so good. I can excuse so much for how well those puzzles were designed.
That's great. I will probably check it out at some point. That does sound down my alley.
I hope so. And again, there's a demo on Steam, so I don't want to have anyone tell me that they wasted the money because of me, because go play the demo, then it's not my fault.
You think we're a bunch of pores, Andy? We're buying this sight unseen, like good consumers.
But I just don't want people saying, "Oh, I spent you owe me the $20 because I spent it and you told me it was good and it wasn't." Yeah,
better start saving that.
I installed the demo first. I played through it, and after about 10 minutes, I have to buy this game right now. I have to buy it. I have to own this.
That's a good way to go about buying games. Very smart.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's rank these motherfuckers.
Okay, I would say that for me, because right now we've got the highest ranked game that I've thrown on that list is Yoshi's Crafted World at number 3, and I think this goes above that. I think this is the best game I've played so far this year. I think it is just masterful. Okay. So I would put it at the very least at number 3.
Yeah, I mean you can argue against my games too. Feel free.
Well, I think the difference is Devil May Cry 5, you didn't really have anything negative to say about it, whereas I am presenting this with a lot of caveats.
That's a fair point. I think that would have been my argument if you did argue it, but
yeah, no, I would say that this deserves to be the number 3 on our list right now.
Okay. That sounds great to me.
All right. And what about you?
This is a tricky one. This is a real tricky one. We have a sweet spot here that I'm feeling that's between Anthem and Far Cry. I feel gross putting it below Anthem, but I honestly had more fun with Anthem, and I ended up baby raging at Anthem towards the end of my experience with Anthem, but so didn't I with Void Bastards. I don't think I put it above Yoshi. It sounds like you really enjoyed that experience.
I did.
Would I put it above Anthem? Shit, I gotta make a decision. No, I'm gonna put it below Anthem, above Far Cry.
All right, so that puts us with Void Bastards as number 6 on our list of games this year so far.
Yeah, so 6 out of 10 now.
Games that we've reviewed.
Yep. I think I'm gonna feel weird about this later in the year, but right now, I'm still very much in the fuming phase of Anthem, and I still think that it's not as good as Anthem. So I don't know what that says about me. I don't know when the assassins are coming from the internet, but such is life. All right.
I guess that just leaves us to thank everyone for listening and for subscribing to us and being awesome and giving us your feedback.
Yeah.
We've been trying to incorporate that into the way that we do things. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Sure.
So if you have any questions or we haven't done a viewer mail segment yet, but only because we haven't received any. Not because we're against the idea, just because we haven't actually received any. So if you want to be featured in our next viewer mail segment, which could be as early as next episode.
Yeah, even hate mail. I think we'd get a kick out of that. If you think we don't know what we're talking about, let us know.
Yeah, if you think that I was absolutely wrong and Apex Legends is actually fun, you're wrong. But you're welcome to let us know.
Incite the masses. Yeah.
What's our emails? Is it gameoffpodcast@gmail.com?
GameOffPodcast@gmail.com. You can also direct message us on Facebook at Game Off Podcast, Twitter at Game Off Podcast, everywhere else at Game Off Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on every possible form of media that you can find. Share with your nephew's friends, your daycare landlord, your whatever.
Print out our logo and stick it on stop signs like I see people doing with local bands.
Yeah,
just do whatever you have to get the word out.
Please, we got a pretty good logo. If I ever see that anywhere, that's how I know we'll have made it, Andy.
If you see our logo on the side of any signs or buildings, or scrawled on a bathroom stall up at the rest stop on the way up to Skowhegan. Take a picture and tweet at us. Tweet us the picture of our logo in a men's room in Skowhegan.
Very frequent.
Do that,
our listeners. All right. Do you know what game you're doing next week? I'm doing Sekiro.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, are you?
Put me on the spot.
You know what? I'm doing Bloodstained.
Oh shit.
Bloodstained.
All right. We got two more relevant games.
Yeah, and two pretty hyped up games.
Yeah,
people are very excited about that.
Both Japanese developed. Both have cute long-haired anime boys, kind of.
Mm-hmm. I love those pretty boys.
Oh, me too. Please look forward to Otaku Off in future. All right, fuck it, let's get out of here. I'm Arcadia, Arkeydia.
I'm Solitalker, Solitalker, and thank you to our producer Divya for all our hard work this week.
Yes, and everyone else. Goodbye.